If a new manager come in tomorrow morning, I guarantee you he'll figure out a way of getting Wartz in the team, and it'll be completely different, and that Wartz will be playing the football he loves. Welcome back to the Cop Doc. I just said I'd do another video in the aftermath of the bad result against Man City at the weekend. Now, it's only a video for fun, but I just want to talk about where does the blame lie, or where does it seem to be going wrong. So, obviously, Arne Slot, he came in as a manager last year, or last season when Klopp left, and of course everybody was waiting to see how results would go for him, and what football be played. Would he keep with the same style of football? Now, I can't remember, maybe because it's been, it was just over a year ago, but what kind of football they were playing. But the fact that we're getting results, I guess, masked it a little bit. We went on to win the league that season. But I remember watching it, and thinking in the last 7, 8, 9, 10 games how poor we were playing football. We weren't playing well, even though we were getting the results. And I think that Arsenal kind of faded off, and it kind of gave us kind of a bit of more, room for error, you could say. But they won the league, and I mean, you can't take it away from Slot. So what I'm trying to say is, we're going to talk about Slot. We're going to talk about Edwards. We'll talk about FSG, and we'll just break it down a little bit, I guess. So, go back to Slot. His style of football, I think, is starting to show now, which to me is no style. But it's the back end of last season, and the stats are there. This is not a video to knock Slot, because, as I said, I think we should, you have to stick with him for a while more. You really have to, unless it really gets bad. We'll say start with the Forest game after the international break. But I could see it even last season. At the end of last season, the football starting to change. Now, did I think it was for the worst? No, maybe I thought to myself, this is his style, and it'll come together and it'll all work out fine. But we're now 11 games into the Premier League season. We won the first 5, which is amazing. And obviously you take that. I mean, if we won 8 or 9 games, and we kept getting away with what we were getting away with, we wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be on here talking this. So it's not like it's easy, it's lazy, like by me, if you want to say it. But I just think it's interesting to talk about at the same time. That the football we're playing is very slow, very passive, and obviously it doesn't have. Look, I know it's hard to mimic Klopp's style of play, but I'm looking at us during games, and even when we turn over the opposition, and we have them out of position, we don't go for the throw at all. We passive, and we're almost like we don't attack with intensity. We just pass the ball around, slow it down. It's almost really boring, to look at. But we don't have that intensity going forward. That nastiness. Like when you looked last year, you had Diaz, you had Nunes even. And even though I don't think Nunes was okay for Liverpool, he done well enough, in fairness. But we all expected more of him. Maybe that's harsh because of the price tag, I guess. And I think he was there 2 seasons. But when you're looking back now, and hindsight is a great thing. He was dangerous. He was very dangerous. And he gave defenders a hard time. Even though he wasn't putting them away left, right and centre, he still made it hard for defenders. And of course, Diaz is Diaz. Diaz reminds me a bit of Luis Suarez, and that he's that old nastiness to him, he's like I don't know what you'd say, just nasty, getting in players and getting his foot stuck in, or strong, ignorant, all that type of thing, and he's great on the ball, and again making it hard for the opposition. And he was brilliant at getting back defensively. So I'll be going on to the lads with the signings we made, because I think we've completely changed it. But back to Slot's tactics, are they working or not? they're not working. I don't know if he is in the process of changing this in training, if he's wanting to change. I mean, I seen someone talking about it on Talksport or something like that during the weekend. We're saying like after Christmas is going to tell a tale, and it will. I still think, we have to give him time, but I, at the same time, and I have to be fair about it, but this is only a hunch, I can't see the football getting any better, or if he's willing to change it up, because it does look that we have to change it up. We have to. Liverpool were a frightening team, and they were under Klopp, obviously, and especially at Anfield. Liverpool were a very frightening team when they were going at you. They were all, like, they went with you at you with pace, as intensity, and quick football and back in the net. That was it. You could see it with Mane, you could see it with Salah, you could see it with Firmino. They were just lightning. But now we're just completely changed our game, and I don't think it's suiting Liverpool. I don't think it is. It's been slowly coming back from Klopp's way of playing through halfway through last season, and obviously the back end and into this season, and you can see it. I don't know what the story is as far as like training or what they're doing in tactics, or does it have anything to do with your man going to Ajax? Was he a big help? But no, people say that. I've seen that on X where people are saying stuff like, he's a big loss, but I can't think of his name. But I still think that there should be enough there to get this right, like, or to get Liverpool playing better football, because it's been shocking. Defensively, we've been very poor. Set pieces, as we know, we struggle with them, and we're limited at the backs. We've only Konate and Van Dijk, which, as I said before, if one of them gets injured, we're in bad nick, and that's the way it's going to be now until January at least. But and fullbacks, obviously Kirkus and Robertson left, and we have Frimpong and Bradley in the right. Now look, Bradley, and I think, is brilliant, and Bradley's done very well against Madrid and Villa, and same with Robertson. But you would have thought with the signing of Kirkus that they were slowly kind of not just, you felt Robertson was on the back end, which I think Robertson's commitment has done well since he's come back into the team. But you'd imagine that was his way out, like, and that Kirkus would be the future fullback, left full. So, but even that I think he's a bit of a liability. I think he's very impulsive. He doesn't seem to, be more measured. He seems to be more of a red car man, rash, that type of thing. And then he can be nervous too in ball. I think I look at Van Dijk, and sometimes Van Dijk looks nervous with him at the back, but we just see him all over the place. As I said, like the football, I can't make head nor tail of it. And I don't think a lot of Liverpool fans can, because they've been saying it. So it's not like watching Liverpool anymore, like in the last few seasons. But we're spoiled with Klopp, but I don't know. I'm a big fan as well of, and I've said this to friends of mine when I'm watching football, and this is just like, it doesn't mean anything, but I always feel I love a manager and a mayhead on the line. If you look at all the greats, Pep Guardiola, you have Ferguson, Mourinho, Klopp. Like, these lads were animated and on the line, and they were in people's faces, and and nearly players, when they see that on the line, you can work both ways. They can get them fired up, or they want to play for them. I'm looking at managers sometimes, and they're so reserved on the line. I have seen it because I had it with Benitez as a fan when he was there. I just find sometimes they're just too reserved. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't play good football and they can't go on and win leagues, because you could obviously come up with someone who won a league there for in the Premier League that maybe wasn't as animated. But I think it's a big part. Even like, I know he hasn't won anything. Well, he's won an FA Cup with Emery's team, which was Arteta. But you have to admire him, even though he drives me up the wall. I think he's an annoying manager. Like, now they could say that about Klopp or someone like that before, but I think he's sly. But to be fair to him, he's all for his team, and he'll do anything for them to win the game. And he has his players playing the same way. But you have to admire that, because that's the most important thing to him. But again, like him, he's animated on the line, but he's getting the results. He's not getting the trophies, but maybe this season Arsenal are favourites to win a league. But you understand where I'm coming from in that. I think a manager has to be senior and upstanding and animated on a line. I think it's very important. Slot is too cool for my liking, and I don't, even look, I know it's hard coming in after Klopp, and Klopp going to the crowd and he giving it to cheers. It's electrifying. Like, that's what I miss, and you can't do that. Klopp can only do that. He is the magic, and I think if other managers you've seen are trying to do that way, he had it, but just too reserved for my liking. But the football we're playing is not great. Will he change? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to change in any way. But look, well, let's see. His decision making can be funny too. Sometimes I've said this numerous times, and this is not. I felt, and I always say Chiesa should have started games, and I'm not just the only Liverpool fan. Loads of Liverpool fans have said the same. And there was moments or games that came up that you said to yourself, he has to start this game. He has to give him a chance for this game, and he didn't. And I don't know if that was just ego, because he knew the fans, and he's probably reading between the lines, that he should be given. Now, maybe they know more during training during the week, and he's a reason for not starting him. But I feel that sometimes when he makes them decisions, it makes me feel a bit weaker about his own decision making. But I hope I'm wrong. Look, it's great. It's easy to talk how bad things are now, because things is not going well. As I said, if we were continuing to win but we were playing bad football, we wouldn't be on talking about it. So it's lazy by me. But we're not playing good football, and we're not getting the results, and that's the way I look at it now at the moment. So I just hope he turns it around. I hope that I don't have to be talking about him and his job in the next few weeks. He will get over it. He will get time, there's no doubt about it. As someone said, his credit in the bank. But if he continues to go on the losses and consecutive losses he's going on over the next few games, he'll be under pressure. I'll drop a tea there. My tea was going cold. But yeah, so I don't know. I hope he turns it around. Like, he talks a great game, and he's good in press conferences. I listen to him, and we know he probably slipped up a little by going on about the other team's tactics down the last few weeks, but he is a shrewd manager. He's a good talker. He has all the buzzwords, which I think sometimes, not in a bad way, I hear people all these buzzwords, the low blocks and all this shit talk, and sometimes the buzzwords are a bit, they're over the top, and they make it more complicated than what they are. But he speaks well, he talks well, he's confident. I just think the football is just not shown. The way he wants us to play, or that's the way he wants us to play, the way we are playing now, he needs to change it, and it has to come to something else. I don't know, but look, I know I'm probably going on a bit long. I don't care, I like talking long anyway. But that's it on him, which brings me on to Edwards and Hughes. What's the story with them? Now, the thing that I can't figure out is we spent, now, and of course, like a lot of Liverpool fans, I was delighted when Liverpool bought all these players in the summer. I thought, Jesus, we're going to be unstoppable. And it was very naive of me to think, that football is funny, and that just because you buy all the superstars or all the top players doesn't mean it's going to work out straight away. And Liverpool's a great example of that. They've spent, was it 440 million? And that's rare for Liverpool, because Liverpool don't spend that money in a window. Like, in fairness, they have it in the bank that they're allowed to spend this, because they haven't spent it for years, and I've made a video about this before. But the money they've spent, it doesn't. We should have got a centre half this season. That's one guy. Like, there's no doubt about it. Now, I know they brought on Leone, but I think they're thinking with Leone was going to be long term anyway. So he was never a quick fix. Now, he did look well against Southampton. He looks like a fella well beyond his years, but at the same time, there's no doubt they were thinking of him long term. So they should have brought in an accomplished defender to help Van Dijk and Konate, if they were out with injuries or whatever, needed rests. That was a big mistake in their behalf, especially when they're spending that money. So money's not an excuse. And this brings me to the part where they brought in Kirkus, right? I said with Robertson that was going to come anyways. I understand that. Trent had left, so we bring in Frimpong. Fair enough, 100%. We should have bought a centre half. I think we should have bought another defensive midfielder. I think it's with Gravenberg sitting deep there. There's certain games where you probably need another defensive midfielder. Gravenberg's a great defensive midfielder, no doubt about it. We won the league because of mainly last season, but I'm saying we still needed another defensive midfielder. But maybe that was less on the priority list. I did think centre halves. Moving up to forwards. So obviously that's shocking thing that happened to Jota, and that could be a factor too, obviously, in the way we're playing. But I thought it would have inspired Liverpool. But look, that's a shocking thing what happened. And obviously we lost Jota. And what about Jota? Wasn't Jota some player? What a player! Like, I don't think anybody would ever dispute how good of a player he was. Gifted, absolutely gifted player he was. And we lost Diaz, which I didn't think we should have sold, and we lost Núñez. But what we replaced him with is not like for like, even though Isak is world class. I mean, he proved it with his goals. And Ekitike is actually more than surprised me. But Ekitike and Isak are very similar. So what's the communication like between Slot and them two lads, in that we lost two players and we replaced them with two completely different players? So were they communicating in the fact that we're thinking of playing this way this season, and this is why we need these lads in? Because if they'd done that, then they would be playing with them two up front, or whichever way they were going to play the football. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that he's pretty much stayed with the same formation as last season. You could say 4, you could say 3-3. But he brought in two strikers, two number 9s, you could say. And he's still playing the same system. So there's some bad communication going on with Slot and them two lads, in that the players they brought in, it just didn't make sense. It wasn't like for like. So you'd imagine they were going to play a different sort of play, a different sort of formation or whatever, but they haven't. And that's what I can't figure out. So not to blame, but does Edwards and Hughes, do they have some hand in it? Were they bad with their purchases? I think Isak's top player. Ekitike is brilliant, and obviously Wartz, and everyone's expecting loads of Wartz, and maybe it's a bit later than what we wanted, but Wartz is too good. Again, if I know I'm hypothetically speaking here, but if a new manager come in tomorrow morning, I guarantee you he'll figure out a way of getting Wartz in the team, and it'll be completely different, and that Wartz will be playing the football he loves. But I think, I mean, does Edwards and Hughes have a lot in it too? In the way they purchased, but they did make good signings individually, as individuals, but I just think that as a team and the way we done it, and maybe it wasn't so right, and the pace, even up front, like even with the purchases, I just think that, I don't know, Núñez and Diaz offered us loads of pace, and so did Salah as well. But I think Salah's gone back a little bit in every department, and the truth is the best. And look, he's not performing this season, and there's times there where maybe the Slot is giving him this giving them the go ahead to kind of stay up, and not don't come back further in your own halfway line, because it feels like that sometimes. But I think he was flying last season, as you know, it was a freak season, but pace has gone from up front, and we're not playing the formation that we should be to get these players in. Isak hasn't gotten up and running either. And again, back to Frimpong as well. Frimpong is only stop-start, so it's frustrating, but yeah, that's another thing. And then it brings me to players. How about the players? Have they a hand in it? Now, you would say they have, because it's them that's on the pitch, but I'm sure they're only playing the way their manager wants them to play as well. I did say I do believe, and because it's life, and it's like the workplace. I mean, anyone goes to work tomorrow morning, and working with people fall out and people have, are not happy about certain situations. And I'd say that happens at Liverpool. And I'd say there's things going on. I'd say there's players. This is only me guessing. It doesn't mean it's true, but I mean, I would say there's some sort of unhappiness with certain players. They're not getting enough game time or not being played in the position they want. Then there's probably people I know body language is, you can't totally go by body language, but I seen an interesting clip tonight where Wartz was in a few times with Salah, not just the time against Frankfurt. There was a few times where he could have, and you can see Wartz. And I said this before. I said it actually way back, that if you keep making an effort and not playing to your best of your ability, and maybe it mightn't be happening for you, fair enough, but if you keep seeing your name getting put up on the buzzer, like say Wartz, and he's getting took off, and he's probably saying to himself, look, Salah, you're top class and they're world class, and there's no disputing that. But he's at the latter end of his career. But it's all about form, and he's probably thinking to himself, this fella's doing nothing. He's doing absolutely nothing, and I'm getting took off. That's okay for one game, because that can happen. It's, sometimes substitutions are substitutions. I mean, it mightn't always be the same thing, but that was consistently happened. So I'm not just talking about Wartz. I'm not just talking about Salah. But I'd say there's things in that team. There's parts of it that someone's not unhappy. Someone are unhappy with certain situations, and obviously that can carry on to the pitch. They don't give the same effort, or they don't have the same bite. And so with the players, so if they have to be obviously partly responsible, but I'd say there's a lot of that going on too. There's no fighting them. There's no even against Man City the other day, and Man City, you can't go. No one goes and dominates Man City. It would happen very, 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 very rarely. But you'd expect Liverpool, and you'd always expect Liverpool to go out and put a challenge up against them. But we looked completely out again. We did for the whole entire 90 minutes. Yes, we got a goal, which I think was a legit goal, but we wouldn't have deserved the result. And we're not. We don't have enough fight. We don't have enough nastiness. Tackles, or we're not even winning this tackles, and then we're not winning the second balls. We're not. It's just. You can just see it's off for us, defensively and in possession. It seems to be way off. Now, obviously, Salah's getting older too, so we don't have the the goal output that he was giving us last season, which was amazing. And what's that down to? I don't know. I mean, is it down to his aging? Is it down to they say he's great friends with Shota and it's affecting him? But if you would imagine if it was affecting him and you seen it, you'd just make it a bit easier. I mean, you'd be taking him off for certain games or giving him certain time. If he throws a strap and is whinging about it, then I need more from you. I don't know. It's not interesting. It's more complex than probably what I'm talking. But there's definitely there's a lot going on wrong. But it's hard to point out. No chemistry, even as I said, even with Klopp's teams, you could just see they were linking up, one touch, two touches back of the net. The link up play was brilliant. Football was brilliant. Even defensively, we were brilliant. We were lunging into tackles, winning them, and we were, we're just fans was up on top of you as well. It was just amazing, the football we used to play for the last few seasons there. But to be out of the league this early is absolutely frustrating. You can lose 5-6 games in a season, but to lose them after 11 games is frustrating. And you don't win the league every season, nobody does. But what I'm saying is, it's horrible to be out of it altogether so early, and especially with the money we spent. But yeah, FSG brings us to FSG. I think FSG supported us. I mean, they gave the money. I mean, in fairness to them, and I was their biggest critic. In fairness, I was whinging last year prior to the season between Klopp and Slot, about the money, the lack of money, the lack of spending. It was very frustrating because I think Klopp got them into a position, I think, where they were able to generate a lot of money, obviously with the success he had with the buying and selling maybe of Edwards, the way the money they were able to generate. But Klopp put them in a great position. I seen another good point. I'm going off course here, where they showed some of the signings Edwards made prior to Klopp coming in, and they were actually very poor. Because when you think that, and Edwards has obviously made some great shrewd moves, but was he all that either. I used to always maintain the deciding factor was Klopp. Because if you look at the signings that Edwards made prior to Klopp coming in, they weren't great, as I said. And if you look at they didn't win anything. It wasn't until Klopp came in that everything started to seem to happen. And look, he's more of a I know he's more of a motivational man, you know, a manager, more so than tactically. No, he would be tactically brilliant as well, but he's a great man to get the best out of players. But I'm probably going off course there, as I said. But I was their biggest critic, FSG, but I have to say, like, they were more than generous in the market there, and they were able to accumulate this money, and we went and spent it in the summer. We obviously spent it. I would say, yeah, as individual players, yeah, you know, good signings. But as a team, and them trying to fit into it, I don't know, was it all too much? And did we shake up? Did we change too much in after winning the league last season? Did we change it up too much? I don't know. It's I don't know. It's up for debate, but yeah. So I don't pass anything on FSG. I really don't. I think the recruitment, it might have been the best as a whole. But look, if things turn around in the next couple of months, maybe we won't be saying that. But because there has to be a point where where Isak, Ekitike will be both playing in the team. There'll have to be. There'll be a time when Wartz will be playing unbelievable football, and that will come. I do believe it's going to come. But will it come under Slot or will it not? That's the thing. So this video was only about talking about certain things, like, you know, where do you think it's lying? Where do you think it's where it's not happening? I don't think it's FSG. I think the players, I think there's a bit off the players. I think there's probably stuff going on that we don't know, but I do believe that. And I think our tactics are shocking bad. I think our football is horrible to look at. And maybe the communication, as I said earlier, between the manager and the sporting directors, I don't know, because I'd imagine that they were talking before these signings were made. Look, this is the way we're going to be playing, and these are going to fit into the system. They reckon they bought Ekitike too early, and that they wouldn't have bought him if they knew they were getting Isak. But then, if that's true, then that's poor judgment, isn't it? So anyway, this will be a season of, I'd say, more ups and downs. I don't think we're good enough to win. We're not good enough to win the Champions League, but we are going to qualify for the knockouts. But we're not good enough unless we have a real change of form. I'd be more worried now about pushing for the Champions League spots for next season, because I don't want to be out of the Champions League on next season, you know, because that'll be a big step back, and it's looking like that's what it's going to be as far as what we're going to be challenging for. It'll be more or less the top 4 spot, and if we're not in that top 4 for next season, then it's going to be serious bother. And then I just don't want to see us slipping. We have the players there. I do believe we have the players. We need to start playing better football. We need to start attacking, not giving these teams respect that they're getting, because I think that's what Liverpool looked like at times. I've seen it. I've watched them. You know, we're giving some of these teams too much respect, in that, you know, we're Liverpool, we're a top class club. We've all the top class players. Go at them. I know it's easy to say, but go at them, attack them, and play with nastiness, because that's what wins leagues, lads. Nastiness. And we don't have it. We seem to be lacking a lot of things. But I don't know. Let us know what you think. I don't want to be all doom and gloom with Slot, because I'm not. I want Slot to succeed, and I'm not here to say that he should be sacked, because that's not. No, I just, you know, what's going on basically, and how much time does he deserve, in fairness? And I think he deserves a bit more time than what some fans are calling for his head, which is now. But no, I think we need to give him a bit more time. I think the league is gone regardless, whether you're bringing a new manager or not. It won't make a difference. I mean, we're not going to be challenging for a title this season. So, in fairness, he deserves maybe the chance. I just hope he starts to play different football, because I'm telling you now, and you don't have to be a professional manager, you don't have to be a professional footballer to see that Liverpool is not playing good football. So, and that needs to change, because they have the players there. But anyways, I'll sum that up. It's long, but yeah, it'd be just interesting to hear what people say. So anyways, take care and we'll be talking soon.